One morning, the ground at the edge of a bamboo grove looks almost boring. Dark soil, fallen leaves, a few quiet canes standing there as if nothing much has changed in months. Then the earth opens. Sharp green spears start pushing upward, thick enough to move leaf litter aside. By the next day, they're higher. A few days later, they're at your waist, then your chest, then above your head. It feels less like growth and more like an ambush, as if the plant spent years asleep and then, without warning, decided to sprint. That is the part most people remember. The explosion. And because that visible burst is so dramatic, we tend to tell a simple story about it. Bamboo waits. Bamboo does nothing. Bamboo stores up patience. Then one day, it suddenly grows. You can see why that explanation survives. From above the soil, it looks true. There are even endless motivational versions of this story online, usually flattened into a neat lesson about success. Nothing happens for years, then everything happens at once. But biologically, that's not really what's going on. Bamboo is not inactive for years and then active overnight. It is active the whole time. We're just only impressed by the part we can see. That shift matters because once you understand it, bamboo stops looking like a miracle of sudden growth and starts looking like something deeper. A system, a strategy, a living example of how badly humans misread plants when we mistake stillness for passivity. First, bamboo is not a tree in the usual sense. It's a grass. A giant, often astonishing grass, but still a grass. And many bamboos live through an underground network of rhizomes, which are stem-like structures that spread beneath the soil. Those rhizomes produce roots, store energy, and send up new shoots. So when you're looking at a stand of bamboo, the upright canes are only half the story. In some ways, they're not even the main story. The main story is underground. For months, and often for years, in a young planting or a slowly establishing stand, bamboo is expanding its hidden architecture. It's building rhizomes. It's growing roots. It's gathering carbon through photosynthesis in its existing leaves and storing that carbon as fuel. It's increasing the size of the system that will one day support a much larger, much faster visible emergence. That means the silent years are not empty years. They are investment years. And here's where the behavior gets more interesting. In many bamboo species, each new shoot doesn't start life as an independent little plant bravely making its own way. Early on, it is heavily supported by the larger colony. Older culms and the underground rhizome system help feed it. Plant ecologists have a term for this in clonal plants: physiological integration. Connected parts of the same plant system can share resources. In plain English, the older bamboo helps pay for the younger bamboo. Researchers studying fast-growing bamboos like moso bamboo have shown that developing shoots draw heavily on stored carbohydrates and nutrients before they have enough leaves of their own to photosynthesize effectively. That matters because when a new shoot erupts from the soil, it is not arriving empty-handed. It is arriving backed by a savings account. So the suddenness is real, but the cause is not sudden. The cause is accumulated. It's a little like watching a rocket leave the launch pad and forgetting the years of engineering, fueling, timing, and preparation that made liftoff possible. The launch feels instantaneous. The launch is not the whole event, and bamboo has another secret that makes the whole thing feel almost unnatural. It doesn't grow upward the way most people imagine a plant growing upward. When you look at an oak tree getting taller, you might picture a trunk slowly adding wood, thickening and extending over time. Bamboo works differently. That cane-like stem, called a culm, emerges with its diameter already close to what it will be for life. In most bamboos, it will not keep thickening year after year the way a tree trunk does. What comes out of the ground is, in a very real sense, the bamboo making a one-time architectural decision. Too small is too small forever. That is one reason the underground preparation matters so much. The plant cannot casually send up a weak, undersized culm and fix it later. Timing and stored energy matter, because the stakes are high for every shoot, and the growth mechanism itself is part of the drama. Bamboo shoots contain compressed structures that are ready to extend. Growth happens through active regions of tissue, called meristems, especially at the bases of the internodes, the segments between the joints you see on a bamboo stem. Botanists call this intercalary growth, and it's one reason grasses can regrow and elongate so efficiently. In spoken terms, bamboo is not building a tower brick by brick as you watch. It is rapidly extending a structure that was prepared in advance. Water pressure helps drive cell expansion. Stored sugars provide energy and raw material. The internodes lengthen. The shoot races upward. In some giant species, that rise can be astonishingly fast. Under ideal conditions, certain bamboos have been recorded growing tens of centimeters in a day, and in rare cases, close to a meter. That sounds almost mythical until you realize what you're actually seeing. You're not watching a plant suddenly become productive. You're watching a plant cash in years of invisible work, and bamboo does not launch that growth blindly. This is where the story moves from mechanics to behavior. A bamboo stand is constantly taking in information: soil moisture, temperature, day length, internal energy reserves, damage, competition, the condition of older culms, the readiness of rhizomes. Plants do not have neurons the way animals do, and bamboo does not have a brain hiding underground. But that does not mean there is no sensing, no signaling, and no coordinated response. For more than a century, plant scientists have been showing that plants are active information processors. Charles Darwin was already fascinated by the sensitivity of root tips. Modern researchers, including figures associated with plant signaling and what is sometimes called plant neurobiology, like Stefano Mancuso, have helped bring wider attention to a now well-supported idea. Plants continuously monitor their environment and integrate signals through hormones, electrical changes, pressure shifts, and chemical pathways. No brain, but not no intelligence. No nerves, but not no communication. No visible movement, until suddenly a lot of movement. Bamboo is a powerful example of that. The colony does not erupt just because time has passed. It erupts when conditions and internal resources cross a threshold that makes rapid emergence possible and worth the cost. That word cost is important. A new bamboo shoot is expensive. It is a massive investment of stored energy, water, and nutrients. If conditions are poor, if the soil is too dry, if the support network is weak, if older culms are missing, if the timing is wrong, the result may be fewer shoots, shorter shoots, or thinner culms that never become the strong framework the colony needs. So waiting is not laziness. Waiting is risk management. And that reframe changes everything. Because what looks like hesitation is often precision. What looks passive is often strategic. What looks like nothing may actually be the most important phase of the whole process. This is one of the deepest patterns in plant life. The dramatic moment we celebrate is often the final expression of a long, invisible negotiation between opportunity and survival. Bamboo also makes sense at the evolutionary level. In forests and disturbed landscapes, speed can be an advantage. If a plant can rapidly push shoots upward when resources are available, it can claim light, expand territory, and strengthen its presence before competitors do. A connected rhizome network allows bamboo to spread and reinforce itself efficiently. Running bamboos do this by sending rhizomes outward over larger areas. Clumping bamboos stay tighter and denser. Different strategy. Same lesson. The visible stems are supported by a hidden system making spatial decisions over time. And because the support is shared, a bamboo grove can behave less like a collection of isolated individuals and more like one distributed organism expressing itself in many vertical forms. That's the part people often feel, even if they don't have the words for it. A bamboo grove doesn't just look like many poles in the ground. It feels coordinated. It feels unified. That feeling is not pure imagination. Beneath the surface, There really is connection. Now there's another layer here that makes the whole thing emotionally sharper. Humans are biased toward visible change. We trust what breaks the surface. We celebrate the leaf, the flower, the fruit, the sudden shoot. But plants are full of hidden phases that matter more than the public moment. Root building, energy storage, dormancy, chemical defense, signal integration, quiet adjustments. You would never notice unless you knew where to look. Bamboo punishes our habit of confusing invisibility with inactivity. It tells us very clearly that absence of spectacle is not absence of work, and there's a warning inside that lesson too. When people ignore the underground part of bamboo, they also misunderstand its vulnerability. A healthy stand is not just whatever shoots happen to be visible this season. It depends on the condition of the rhizomes, the roots, the soil, the stored reserves, and the older culms that keep the system fed. Damage those pieces, and the famous explosive growth can weaken quickly. A grove under stress may send up fewer shoots. The culms may be shorter, thinner, more widely spaced. Drought can reduce the pressure and resources needed for vigorous emergence. Compacted soil can limit root function. Cutting too many mature culms out of a stand can reduce the photosynthetic engine that helps support the next generation of shoots. What looks like a simple decline above ground may actually be a broken conversation below ground. And that matters beyond the plant itself. In places where bamboo shapes habitat, its growth pulses influence shade, structure, food, and timing for other organisms too. So this is not just a curiosity about one dramatic plant. It's a window into how ecosystems depend on hidden cycles most people never notice. Which brings us back to that first strange moment, when the ground seems to burst and bamboo appears to grow overnight. What you are really witnessing is not impatience finally released. You are witnessing delayed visibility. You are seeing stored sunlight turned into architecture. You are seeing older stems support younger ones. You are seeing underground stems act as both memory and machinery. You are seeing a plant measure risk, gather resources, and then commit with astonishing speed. The shoot that shocks you was not born that morning. Not in the meaningful sense. It was prepared underground, financed by the past, and launched when the odds were good enough. That is why bamboo feels so dramatic. It exposes a truth most plants keep better hidden. Life is often busiest before it becomes obvious. And maybe that's why people love bamboo stories so much, even when they oversimplify them. Somewhere in us, we recognize the emotional shape of the thing. The long, quiet phase, the invisible buildup, the sudden reveal. We instinctively feel there's something profound in that pattern. Science doesn't take that feeling away, it deepens it. Because the real story is better than the myth, better than nothing happened and then everything happened. The real story is that everything was happening, all along, in darkness, in storage, in signaling, in connection, in restraint. Silence was never silence, it was preparation. So the next time you pass a stand of bamboo and think it looks still, or ordinary, or uneventful, remember that you may be standing over a system that is calculating, storing, extending, and waiting for the exact moment to make its invisible work visible. And when that moment comes, it won't be magic. It will be biology so elegant it feels like magic. If you've ever watched bamboo shoot up in real life, or had a plant moment that completely changed once you understood the science underneath it, tell me in the comments. And if you like this kind of deeper research-grounded look at the hidden behavior of plants, subscribe. Because sometimes the most profound thing in nature is not what suddenly appears. It's what was quietly happening before anyone thought to look.